When you live with someone long enough, you stop noticing the little things. Or maybe you convince yourself they're just part of a routine. That's what I used to believe, anyway. Back when mornings meant burnt toast, half-asleep coffee grunts, and the jingle of Charlie's leash as she headed out the door with our golden retriever before the sun even bothered to rise. She always said the dog needed structure. Morning walks kept him calm, helped his digestion, whatever. And hey, I wasn't about to argue with that logic. I'm not a morning person. Never have been. So when she offered to take over Charlie's walks, just give me 20 peaceful minutes alone with him in the morning, babe. It clears my head. I kissed her forehead, grunted something supportive, and went back to pretending I didn't hear the alarm. But looking back, that was the first brick in the wall. The one she built, quietly and intentionally, between us. Her name's Morgan. She's sharp, beautiful in a way that makes strangers look twice, but not comment. And she's got that Instagram expert way of making everything look curated. Messy buns that somehow still look intentional, coffee stains that match her aesthetic. She's the kind of woman who buys mugs labeled Dog Mom, ironically, but still posts boomerangs of them. You know the type. We got Charlie during lockdown. She was the one who brought it up. I think we need something that'll make us get out of the house. A dog could help. Something to care for together. I remember thinking it was her way of nesting, maybe testing how we'd handle responsibility. We'd been married 3 years at that point, together almost 5. No kids yet, though her mother had begun weaponizing the word grandpuppy. Charlie was our first big commitment after the mortgage. Golden retriever, 6 months old when we got him, from a rescue in Jersey. Big paws, big heart, dumb as a rock, but loyal like you wouldn't believe. That dog worshipped her, tail wagging, tongue hanging, eyes glued kind of worship. I didn't think anything of it. Everyone loves Morgan. That was just normal. Then one Thursday, she came back from her walk looking flushed. Not from exertion. She wasn't sweating. No ponytail lines on her neck. Lip gloss still perfectly intact. And Charlie, well, he came back with a brand new leather collar. Tan, not the cheap nylon one we had. Brass nameplate engraved. Charlie the champ. I raised an eyebrow. You buy him a new one? She blinked. Oh yeah? His old one was fraying. There was a pop-up booth at the park. Local guy? Handmade. Huh. Thought you hated leather stuff. She laughed. I make an exception for the dog. He deserves style. I let it go. One collar wasn't a crime. I mean, I hadn't bought it, but it wasn't suspicious, not really. Until Saturday. Saturday morning, I got up early for once. No reason, just couldn't sleep. She was already gone with Charlie. I figured I'd surprise them, drive to the dog park with coffee, and join the tail end of their walk. Be spontaneous. Romantic. One of those stories she could tell over brunch. He just showed up with my favorite cold brew. What a man. I parked 2 blocks away and approached the park on foot. It's one of those big, open spaces with benches, a few trees, a fenced-in run for off-leash dogs. There's a small storage shed toward the back where they keep maintenance tools, hose, doggy bag refills. No one really hangs around it. I spotted Charlie right away, tail wagging, bounding happily toward a guy in yoga pants, sleek, black, expensive looking. The guy crouched down, rubbed Charlie's ears, scratched his chest, whispered something to him. Then Morgan appeared. From behind the shed. Not from the walking path. Not from the gate. From behind. Her hair was messy in a way that wasn't curated. Her cheeks flushed. Not from a brisk walk. She touched the man's arm. He turned to her. They smiled, the kind of smile you don't give a friend. Then, like a goddamn scene out of a bad drama, she kissed him. Not a peck. Not a quick slip-up. A slow, lingering kiss. One hand behind his neck, the other gripping his jacket like she hadn't seen him in months. I ducked behind the nearest bench and just watched. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. I felt the air get knocked out of me. Like someone had yanked the bottom out of the moment and left me standing on nothing. I watched them walk off together, Charlie trotting ahead, leash in yoga guy's hand. They left through the back exit. Not the main gate. Not the way we always entered. I sat there, clutching 2 cold brews and a heart that felt like it had just split quietly down the middle. Back home, I poured the coffee down the sink. She came back half an hour later, hair tied neatly, cheeks still pink. Hey, she said, all casual. You're up? Yeah, I replied, keeping my voice even. Couldn't sleep. She ruffled Charlie's ears. He's finally starting to behave on leash. Think the training's paying off. Must be. She peeled off her jacket, threw it over the banister. The faint scent of something clung to it. Not perfume. Cologne. Something woodsy, with citrus. Definitely not mine. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I needed more. I needed receipts, not metaphorical ones. Literal ones. Evidence she couldn't gaslight her way out of. The next week, I played dumb. Kept to my schedule. Asked how the walks were going. Acted impressed when Charlie rolled over on command. She seemed relaxed. Too relaxed. Like someone who thought she got away with it. That Friday, I planted a motion camera in the backyard. Just a little one. Pinned it under the porch light near the back gate. It had a perfect angle of her heading out with Charlie every morning. By Monday, I had 7 clips. All the same routine. She'd head out with the leash, Charlie bouncing at her side. She'd pass the gate, jog 2 houses down, and wait. Enter, yoga pants. He'd appear from the side alley, kiss her like a scene out of The Notebook, take the leash, and off they'd go, like the happiest damn couple you've ever seen. I should have felt destroyed. Instead, I felt something worse. I felt calm. Too calm. Like I'd entered the eye of the storm and just needed to decide which way to spin it. And I already had the perfect idea forming. 1 canvas. 1 fireplace. 1 permanent reminder she couldn't just sweep under the rug like a broken promise. But I wasn't ready yet. Not until I knew who the hell this guy was, and how long I'd been letting him borrow my dog. Because I wasn't just going to catch her. I was going to make sure she remembered it every time she stepped into our living room. And smiled at the portrait above the fire. You'd think after watching your wife kiss another man at 7:32 a.m. behind a public shed, while your golden retriever wagged like an idiot, the worst part would be the heartbreak. It wasn't. The worst part was pretending everything was fine. For days. Pretending her lip gloss didn't look familiar. Pretending Charlie didn't come home smelling like someone else's skin. Pretending I didn't know what morning walks really meant while she smiled at me across the breakfast table like we still lived in some Pottery Barn catalog. But I've always been better at playing dumb than people give me credit for. I started paying closer attention to her schedule. I mean really paying attention. She claimed to be working from home 3 days a week and commuting downtown the other 2. Her office? A boutique marketing firm with 12 employees and a giant moss wall in the lobby. I'd been there once. Her boss, Penny, was the type who called everyone babe and thought deadlines were flexible goals, which worked out great for Morgan. Especially when she'd say things like, Penny gave us Friday off for mental health, or we're doing Zoom only this week because of construction. It used to sound legit. Now, it sounded like air cover. That next Thursday, she mentioned she was going in early, needed to prep for a campaign presentation. Left before dawn with her laptop bag, Charlie's leash looped over her shoulder, and that same breezy, guiltless smile. I waited 15 minutes, then followed her. Not in my car. Too obvious. I threw on sweats, grabbed a travel mug, and used the side streets to circle around the neighborhood. I cut through the park, slipped past the maintenance lot, and crouched behind the same bench from before. Sure enough, she was there. Same guy. Same yoga pants. Same damn smirk. But this time, I saw his face more clearly. Not just some random guy from the gym, like my brain had tried to rationalize. This guy had a name, because I recognized him. Lance Corbin. Senior trainer at our local gym. Morgan had done a 6-week mobility and movement course there last summer. She'd hated it, or so she claimed. Said the vibe was off. Said it felt like a CrossFit cult. Apparently, the only thing she didn't hate was Lance. He was in his mid-30s, lean build, long hair tied in a man bun. Looked like someone who got paid in protein powder endorsements. The kind of guy who wore beaded bracelets and posted topless mirror pics captioned, grind mode. Activated. They didn't head toward the dog park this time. Instead, I watched them veer off toward a trail that looped into the woods, one of those winding routes mostly used by joggers and high school kids trying to vape in peace. I followed at a distance. Didn't even feel guilty about it. They walked a quarter mile, then stopped. Kissed again. She leaned into him, laughing, tapping his chest like she'd just heard the funniest thing in the world. Then he took Charlie's leash. She turned around, blew him a kiss, and walked away. Alone. Back toward our house. While Lance continued on the trail, dog in tow. That's when it clicked. The whole thing, the entire morning walk routine, was a transaction. She got 10 minutes with her boyfriend. He got alone time with our dog. And me? I got played. Twice over. I sprinted back through a side path, cut across someone's yard, and made it home 5 minutes before she did. slammed the bathroom door behind me, turned on the shower, and stood there fully clothed until I heard the back door open. "Hey babe," she called. "Water pressure okay?" I grunted something about getting the temperature right. She hummed like everything was normal, like she hadn't just outsourced her loyalty to a man who couldn't even wear proper pants. I needed proof, not just shaky cell phone footage. I needed something irrefutable, something that didn't require interpretation or context, something she couldn't spin. So I bought a drone. Nothing fancy, just enough to fly over the dog park from a discreet distance. I set it up that Saturday, parked down the block, and let it hover while she did her usual routine. Lance showed up right on time. The drone captured everything. The kiss, the leash handoff, the shared smirks, the way she brushed his hair behind his ear like a damn Nicholas Sparks novel. Back at home, I loaded the footage onto a drive. Then, for good measure, I printed a few stills, just to see how it looked on glossy paper. Answer: infuriatingly clear. That night, we had dinner with her parents. Her dad talked about his knee replacement. Her mom gushed about the amazing snap peas at Trader Joe's. Morgan told a story about how Charlie almost chased a raccoon earlier that morning. I stared at her the whole time, smiling, nodding, like a man about to be knighted for services to patients. I didn't say a word, because the revenge? It had to be perfect. That's when the canvas idea came to me. The fireplace had been her obsession when we bought the house. She'd spent weeks picking out the perfect tile, said she wanted it to be the emotional center of the room. So I figured, why not give it some emotion? I picked the best photo, her mid-kiss, eyes half closed, Charlie in the foreground with his stupid happy tongue lolling, the shed behind them casting a long shadow, romantic in a trashy, sitcom kind of way. I uploaded it to a print shop that specialized in oversized canvases, chose the most expensive wood frame option, added text across the bottom in looping gold script, Family Portrait, 2025 edition. Then I waited. 1 week. Every morning, same routine. She got bolder, stayed longer, brought back little treats for Charlie. I pretended to notice nothing. Then came our anniversary. She had no clue I remembered, which made it even better. "Let's do something low-key this year," she'd said. "Maybe a night in. Wine, takeout, cozy vibes." I nodded. "Perfect. I'll handle the food." On the night of, I lit the fireplace, set the table, uncorked the wine she liked. Told her I had one small surprise. "Oh," she grinned. "A gift?" "Better," I said. "It's already hanging." She looked confused, glanced around the room. Then she turned and saw it. Her mouth dropped open like someone had yanked the floor out from under her. She stared at the canvas. Her own face, frozen mid-kiss. The man bun. The leash. The words in gold. Silence. Then, the absolute best part. Her mother stepped out of the guest bathroom. "I love the new art piece," she said, sipping Merlot. "Is that from your morning walk routine?" Morgan's eyes darted from the canvas to her mom, then to me. Her lip quivered. Her hands stayed frozen at her sides. I sipped my wine. "To many more years," I said, raising my glass. She didn't say a word. Didn't have to, because the look on her face? It was better than any apology. I woke up Monday with a mix of dread and something I hadn't felt in years: clarity. Not peace. Not relief. Clarity. The kind that cuts the blur out of everything and makes the edges sharp. Morgan was gone when I walked Charlie. Said she had an early client meeting downtown. I nodded, said nothing, pulled Charlie's leash tight, and walked the dog in circles I already knew. The park, the shed, that back alley. All the same places where I'd seen her slip away with Lance. All the same routes I followed with camera in tow and a plan in mind. That video footage from the drone didn't lie. It had saved me from half believing her lies. I watched it again that morning. The kiss, the leash handoff, Lance's hand brushing her back. I muted the audio, but I didn't need the words. The body said enough. I spent the day like a man living in someone else's haunted house. Every old photograph on the mantelpiece looked suspicious. Every photo where she was turning her head with that smile. Was she smiling at me or at the memory of something else? I checked the frames for shadows, for smudges, for things that didn't match. Then I did what I always did when I needed something I didn't have. I planned. The canvas, it was finished and delivered Saturday. It was huge. 2 feet by 3, stretched wood frame, oil-textured printing to give that self-important gallery look. It sat under the stairs, wrapped in craft paper, leaning against the wall in the den. Her surprise, waiting. But I wasn't going to spring it yet. I needed witnesses. Her sister, yes. She'd come if I asked. But I needed more weight. I needed people she couldn't hide in front of. Parents, neighbors, our closest friends. So I called dinner. Let's do a backyard barbecue, I said. Spring's perfect. Dog-friendly. Casual. She liked that. She smiled. I picked the date. Invited everyone. Charcoal grill. Cold beer. Backyard lights. Long games. Home as home gets. Meanwhile, I backed up the evidence. Printed some stills from the drone. Put them in a small album. Sticky notes marking what mattered. Date, time, location. Leash in his hand. Her head tilted. The shadow of Lance's silhouette. Also audio snippets. Someone complaining about rain. He said we'd get caught in the rain tomorrow. Bring my jacket. From a neighbor who overheard when I was pretending to jog. Neighbors don't talk, usually. But there's always someone who notices something. Especially if it's early morning, golden retriever in tow, two people sneaking behind the shed, while everyone else does yoga and almond milk lattes. Charcoal smoke rose at dusk that barbecue evening. The sky was pink. Kids ran around. Charlie sniffed at a salad dropped under the table. Morgan laughed, talked about work, hugged friends. She looked beautiful, normal, unaware she was about to walk into an exhibit. Her sister Beth asked me to tell the story of how I killed the mosquitoes, something stupid, but she always made me speak because she liked how I waved at something invisible to soothe the crowd. I stood by the fire pit with my drink, marshmallow stick in hand, and said, actually, I wanted to share something, a family portrait I ordered. Everyone looked. Oh, what's that? One of her friends asked, wiping her hands. I nodded. It's here, in back. We all walked down to the living room. I hadn't told Morgan anything beyond surprise. I held the wrapped canvas like a gift for someone I hated and loved both. She followed, curious and calm. I ripped off the paper. The room's light caught the sheen. Golden script across the bottom. Family Portrait, 2025 edition. The image, Morgan kissing Lance behind the dog park shed. Charlie in the foreground, leash dangling. Transfixed mid-lunge between two people, the sun casting long, soft shadows. The moment captured, betrayal in daylight. Silence. Then someone murmured. Beth gasped. A neighbor dropped her wine glass. Charlie barked, confused. Morgan just stared. Her eyes flicked from the painting to the crowd, to me. What is this? She whispered. I lifted my drink. Truth, I said. Our truth. Someone, our neighbor, the one who always smiled too wide, asked, Is that Lance? Her lips trembled. Yes. There was no excuse. No fake wrinkle of distance she could tug at. Her hair was slicked back, makeup perfect, heart pounding in her chest. The mask slipped maybe a crack. Beth's voice cracked. You kissed him. Behind the shed. She nodded. Then silence again. The smell of charcoal, of meat, of grass. A dog panting. The swirl of a summer night. My walks. I just needed something peaceful, she said. That one morning was with Lance. But it didn't mean. It does, someone else said. Maybe me. Maybe no one really heard. Morgan backed away. I'm sorry, she said. I never meant for this to hurt you. Her father stepped in, voice low. Morgan, you should have told someone. Her mother just stood still, tears glistening. The kind of tears people don't let you see until they've decided what kind of anger or sadness they'll wrap them in. I stared at her face. Beauty and guilt tangled together. Always thought love could cover lies. Turns out, lies leave stains you can't scrub out. She moved toward me. I'll take it down. She gestured toward the canvas. No, I said. Leave it there. She looked shocked. Why? Because I want you to see it every time you walk into this house. Every time you light this fireplace. Fine, she said, voice tight. Then she turned and left. Not storming, not crying. Gone like smoke. The neighbors shifted. Someone muttered. The grill sizzled, half-cooked burgers left cold on plates. I stood there alone by the painting, Charlie pawing at my leg, tongue dripping, wanting me to throw the ball. Wanted me to believe everything might still be salvageable. I ignored him. I let the scene pull open a silence I'd lived under for too long. They started leaving one by one. The lights dimmed. Chairs scraped. Friends whispered goodnights. Morgan's dad patted me on the shoulder. Her mother avoided my eyes. I closed the door behind the last guest. Inside, the house smelled like burnt wood and old memories. Morgan came in a couple of hours later. Door shut quietly. No knock. No apology. She leaned against the frame. Can we talk, please? I knelt at the fireplace, touched the edge of the canvas. Burnt sienna, oil sheen, betrayal in every brushstroke. Maybe, I said. Maybe we will. She blinked. I didn't turn to face her. But not tonight. She nodded, not understanding. I walked upstairs, dog at my heels, and slept in the guest room. Because the person I married had shown me who she could be, not who she was. And I needed space to sort the new version of us. When I woke up the next morning, the guest room felt colder than the yard had felt the night before. Charlie whined at the door as I stumbled out, shoes still half untied. The canvas loomed across the mantel, that golden script glinting like a warning. I stared at it, wondering how much of the home I'd known was ever real. I brewed coffee, hard black, and watched Morgan's car pull into the driveway. She didn't knock. She opened the door quietly and stepped in like she didn't know she was trespassing in someone else's grief. She wore the same sneakers she'd worn at dinner. No makeup, hair pulled back, puffy eyes. Whatever resolve she had left looked like it was melting off her skin in the afternoon sun. Hey, she said. I brought breakfast. She said a bag from that bakery we used to visit before weekends got swallowed by deadlines and dog walks. It smelled of butter and regret. I nodded. Took a cup. Thanks. I didn't shift from the chair by the window. Charlie sat between us, looking from me to her, as if he was trying to remember which version of her was supposed to feed him. Morgan looked at the canvas. I should have taken that down last night. No, I said. Leave it. Why are you doing this? She asked, voice trembling. Why expose me like this instead of talking like adults? Because talking had become an echo chamber of excuses. Because I deserved to see her stare at the truth. Because I needed her to understand that betrayal isn't just something you do. It's something you wear. It stains. She sighed. Lance never meant for you to find out like this. I swear I never planned it. Then why the lies? Her eyes flickered. She looked away. Because I was embarrassed. You ask questions. I couldn't lie coherently. That isn't my failing, I said. That's your choice. She paused. Tears sprung. I love you. I love this dog. I love our life. I looked out the window. Charlie rolling in the grass. Sunlight catching his fur. I felt something crack inside me. Not anger. Something like grief. For who I thought she was. For what I thought we had. Love doesn't end betrayal, I said. Not always. She closed her eyes, exhaled. Can we try to fix this? I didn't answer right away. My mind raced. Trust broken. Routine upended. What kind of fixing was she proposing? Lies don't dissolve in milk. They linger like sour cream in the fridge. She kneeled beside me. Start with this, she said. Let me explain. In time. Not now. Because everything needed rebuilding. And some things needed admitting. She told me about feeling unseen. About Lance showing up at the gym when I was busy with work. About the thrill of secret sunrise walks. The guilt. The lies that piled on themselves until she couldn't find her way back. She apologized. Said she never meant to hurt me, though meaning didn't erase impact. The afternoon came on slow. The soft hum of traffic outside. Charlie's paws patted across the floor. I let her finish. I didn't interrupt. Just listened. When she left an hour later, I told her I needed space. Told her to stay elsewhere for a few nights. She nodded, tears falling but steady. She left with Charlie's favorite blanket, cradled like a lifeline. I spent the evening sitting in that living room by the fireplace. The canvas above glowed in firelight. As shadows flickered, I saw not just betrayal, but the roots I would have to uproot. Trust, assumption, suffocation under secrets. The painters say wood stains don't wash off. Even if you repaint, the shadow remains. I slept alone again. The next morning, I saw the canvas in the glow of dawn. Morgan's face mid-kiss, Charlie's tongue lolling, Lance in shadow behind the shed. I realized something. I was angry. Also, I was free. Free from pretending. Free from unraveling pieces to fit someone else's story. I grabbed my phone. I messaged some of our friends who were there at the barbecue. Brides, baristas, neighbors. Thanks for being there last night. It sucked to share a truth under flames. But I'm going to ask one thing. If you see the canvas still up, don't touch it. Let it stay. Let us live with what's real. Some replied. Same. Needed that, sorry you had to do it. Then I posted a picture of the canvas on social media. Nothing flashy, just truth. Messy, but necessary. Comments poured. Courageous. Wow. Same boat. Morgan texted. Saw your post. I didn't respond. Because I realized revenge, for me, wasn't about making her lose her dignity in public. It was about refusing to lose mine in private. Later that day, her dad came over. We sat on the porch. Evenings are cooler now, cicadas chirped. He brought a bottle of whiskey. We drank in silence. He finally said, "She betrayed you." I nodded. "Yeah." He asked, "Do you think she'll ever come back?" I took a slow sip. Whiskey burned down my throat. Maybe, but not to what we had. He clapped me on the shoulder. Didn't say more. Dads don't need many words. Night came. I went to bed. Canvas hanging above the fireplace. I dreamt of Charlie chasing his tail, of Morgan kissing Lance. And I woke up thinking, the painting stays. Because truth deserves its place on the wall. The days after the barbecue felt like living underwater. Everything muffled. My steps by the fireplace echoed too loud. The canvas stared at me. Morgan's lips pressed to Lance's, leash in a stranger's hand. Charlie mid-pant in the foreground. The family portrait, banner more like a scarlet banner of guilt than anything else. I kept to my routines so nothing looked obviously broken. Walked Charlie in the morning like always. Made coffee. Sat on the couch with my notebook, trying to pretend work projects still mattered. But the lies infected every space. The hallway smelled faintly of her perfume still lingering on the coat rack. Charlie would pause at her side of the bed, nose sniffing the pillow. I'd beat him to it before he noticed emptiness. She came back because she had to, not because she could fix anything. I think guilt pulled her home, but shame kept her silent. One evening she slipped in while I was inside grading papers for a side gig. I heard the gate, then her footsteps on the porch. Charlie barked. She didn't say anything for a long time, just stood in the entry. I heard the scrape of the canvas frame on the hardwood floor. "Can we move this?" she asked. Voice small. I didn't turn. I heard the frame land, leaned against the wall next to a bookcase. "It's too much," she said. "Every time I walk in and see that, I hate what I see." I closed my laptop and rose. "Did you mean walking off that morning means you stopped being mine in that moment?" I asked. "Because that's what that painting says to me." She didn't answer. "Do you want me to take it down?" she asked. "No," I said. "Leave it. Let it say what it says." Tears in her eyes now. Real ones, not the controlled kind she saved for dark mirrors. She crossed to me and silently wrapped an arm around my waist. I held still, wondering if this was regret or some kind of surrender. She pulled back, wiped her eyes. "I messed up. I know I did. But I didn't mean to. I still love you. I just lost." "Love doesn't erase what's seen," I said. "But it does decide what comes next." She nodded. We didn't talk properly that night. Sleep was distant. I woke to her side of the bed cold. Charlie tucked under my blanket, like he was avoiding the chaos too. For the next 2 days, she tried small gestures. She walked Charlie late in the afternoon, the long, golden hour route we used to take together. She brewed my coffee from the light roast I liked instead of her dark beans. She even fixed that loose shingle on the roof I'd asked about. But none of it erased the canvas. None of it rewrote the truth people had already seen. One afternoon, I got a call from Lance. Yes, him. He sounded nervous, not confident. "Hey, Kyle." "Yeah. Listen, I saw what happened. The painting. The party. I didn't plan for it to go like that." I listened. He said he wanted to meet. In person. To explain. To apologize. If this had been early days, I might have considered it. But I didn't want apologies. I wanted clarity. And I wasn't sure he could give me that without doubling down on denial. But for the sake of cutting off rumors, I agreed. We met in a quiet cafe downtown, one with big windows, soft jazz, croissants. He came in late, hands in pockets, eyes darting to the canvas on my phone when I showed him a picture. He looked at it like he'd stared so long into a mirror he didn't recognize his own edges anymore. We both had coffee. He cleared his throat. "Look, I want you to understand." I held up my hand. "Do you love her?" He blinked. "Yes." "Did she say you'd stop if you got caught?" He swallowed. "No. I didn't give ultimatums. I didn't ask." "Then you didn't love her enough to care about consequences." He stiffened. "She told me things I wanted to believe," he said. "But I realize now I was just the warm-up to a fantasy. She wanted the idea of hidden love, the guilt, and the chase. Probably more than she wanted honesty." I nodded. People love danger until they're the ones writhing in it. He looked away. "I don't want to be the villain. I just want to fix something." "Fix what?" I asked. "The mess? The marriage?" My trust. Lance stared at his hands. All of it. If she agrees. If you're willing. I considered. Part of me wanted to punch him. Part of me wanted to disappear into that canvas, hide behind it, so I never had to see what I'd trusted. Then I said, "Do you want me to do something for you?" He nodded. "Go away," I said. "Disappear from Charlie's walks. Unfollow her. Don't be in the shadows anymore." "I can do that," he said, voice small. "Good." He left. Coffee cold. Bill on his table. I paid. When I got home, I found Morgan in the garden, hands in dirt, Charlie next to her. She didn't look up. I stood in the doorway. "He's gone," I said. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I asked him to stay away. "Good." I walked to the canvas, touched the painted wood frame. Then I walked around the fireplace. "Leave it," I said. "It stays." She looked at me like she wasn't sure this was love anymore, or just survival. "I want to rebuild," she said. "If you'll let me." I knelt down and scratched Charlie's ears. He pushed into me. "Rebuild takes time," I said. "And no repainting without sanding down the old layers first." She looked at me. "I'll start." We spent that evening talking, not about what she did, but about who we are now. About whether I could trust a kiss she gave me again to mean something. About what dawn walks would look like if the leash was in my hand again. At some point she asked to take down the painting. I hesitated. The air between us thick and raw. "Not yet," I said. "Let it be a reminder." She bowed her head, understanding. Night came. Bedroom cold, but closer now than before. I lay awake hearing Charlie breathing, thinking about whether love is a house you can repaint or a portrait you can't unsee. And somewhere in between, I realized maybe the hardest part of revenge isn't the spectacle. It's deciding what to do with what's left after. Morning light filtered through the slats of the blinds. I rolled over, felt the weight of absence more than her mattress. Charlie was curled at my feet, snoring against the rug. I reached down and touched his back, warm, soft, grounding. I whispered an apology into the quiet. For love, for trust, for the picture I hung above the fire. Morgan was in the kitchen. The smell of toast. Coffee. Something familiar that felt dangerous. I heard her moving, clinking of the toaster, breath held as if waiting to exhale something she'd kept inside too long. I didn't move. I didn't ask for perfection. I just observed. She spoke first. "Can I send something to Lance?" I didn't answer. I poured my coffee, black, just the way I like it, and sat at the table, fingers stained from yesterday's soil. I had garden dirt under my nails, as though I'd unearthed memories in my sleep. She placed something in front of me, an envelope with his name in her handwriting. She looked at the floor, fidgeted with her thumbs. "He reached out," she said. "He wants closure." He said seeing the painting changed him. "He's sorry." Silence. I measured the distance she'd walked between the lies and this moment. I thought about printing that giant portrait, the barbecue, the neighbors, the betrayal framed like modern art. "Do it," I said, "if it helps you find peace." She nodded. I saw something crack behind her eyes. Redemption, maybe, or fear that it was impossible. Later, she walked Charlie in the morning light again, without him handing off the leash to Lance. She looked at me before she closed the gate, waited for me to step outside. I didn't. I watched from the kitchen window. She paused, looked back. Our eyes locked for a moment. I didn't say anything. Let the silence do its work. The next few days didn't feel dramatic. It was quiet. Gradual. Healing maybe. She made breakfast one morning. Not fancy, just eggs and toast. She told me small things. Work stress, guilt, how every dog bark made her jump, how she thought about pulling down the painting but didn't. I said nothing. I just ate. Charlie ate. The world turned its slow gears. Then, one afternoon, I got mail. A wrapped package with no return address. I opened it on the porch. Inside, a smaller canvas. Same size, smaller print. On it, a photo Lance sent her. The sunrise behind the shed with no bodies in frame. Just Charlie sitting, tongue out, sunburst behind him. Under the photo, gold script. For what's pure. 2025 edition. I turned it over. On the back, Lance's confession in his own handwriting. That he regretted using their secret for validation. That he lied about feelings. That he never meant to replace me. Not intentionally, but got too comfortable hiding. I stared at it. The sun warmed my skin. I thought about burning down what I built. Or leaving the original painting up forever so that every time I felt the ache, I could look at it and remember what truth looked like. I took the new canvas inside. held it up next to the original. They hung side by side above the fireplace. The original, betrayal, guilt, evidence. The new, recognition, confession, distance. She came in, Charlie following, her eyes on the two frames. She stood there, quiet. I didn't ask if she wanted company. I didn't offer. She just sat next to me on the couch. I handed her the envelope. She opened it, saw the confession. Tears welled. Not the kind I mocked. The kind that washes you clean. She whispered, "Thank you for leaving up the truth." I nodded. We didn't say much more. Just sat in the firelight and let Charlie doze between us. Weeks passed. The painting stayed. She started going to therapy. I joined once. We didn't fix everything. Some cracks stayed in the walls. But light got in those cracks. That was enough. One night, maybe a few months later, I found her at the dog park. Just her and Charlie. No Lance. No hiding behind trees. She was waiting by the bench, wearing sneakers, a hoodie. Charlie barked when I pulled in. I got out of the car. She didn't turn right away, but she smiled. A real one. Tired, maybe, but honest. We walked together, leash shared between us. Charlie trotting in front, golden in the dusk. She leaned in and whispered, "I'm sorry." I said, "I know." She paused, then said, "Thank you for not letting me lie forever." I nodded again. No big declaration. No, we're okay. But in that moment, standing where it all began, I understood that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't the canvas. It's surviving the frame. So we kept walking. Charlie sniffed at every tree. I let him lead. And for the first time since I saw them behind the shed, I felt like maybe we could walk past that moment. Not erase it. Not pretend. Just carry it. Like a scar, like a whispered truth. The painting remains. So does the memory. But the leash is back in my hand. And that matters. Because some betrayals can break you, but others teach you to stand. And here I am, walking forward. Subscribe to the channel